They came in ships that blotted out the sky. Not one, not 10, but thousands. We didn't know what they wanted at first. No message, no warning, just silence. And then fire. It started with the satellites. They flickered and dropped within minutes. GPS gone. Communications vanished. The power grids overloaded next. Then the sky shimmered, a blue ripple like someone had thrown the atmosphere into a pond. That's when we saw them. Metallic hulls the size of cities, shaped like thorns or daggers just floating up there, watching. By the time they spoke, they had already landed in 12 major cities. Their message was short. A broadcast, force-fed into every screen, every radio signal, every wireless frequency we had left, primitive species. You have been observed. You are flawed, violent, wasteful. You will be managed. You will serve. Resistance is expected. Like it was a game to them. Some of us prayed. Some screamed. Some, like me, just stared at the sky and wondered why we hadn't listened to the warning signs in our own history. We were so damn busy killing each other that we never prepared for someone stronger showing up. Their name. We never got the real word. Just what the surviving translators managed to squeeze out. Varnak. A race of towering insectoid beings with exoskeletons harder than steel and voices like rusted blades grinding together. Their tech was centuries ahead. Their weapons burned through tanks like butter. They didn't take prisoners, at first. I lived in the ruins of what used to be Santiago, Chile. The Varnak flattened it in the first wave. I survived because I was unlucky enough to be on the outskirts, in the slums. Turns out being forgotten by your own kind has its perks when the sky falls. The camps came next, not for punishment, for processing. Humans were rounded up, tagged and sent off. Where? No one knew. Some said off-world. Others believed we were being experimented on, dissected, maybe even eaten. Then one day someone fought back, not with a gun. Those were useless. Not with an army, and we didn't have any left. It was a girl, 13 years old. Her name was Kiara. A Varnak patrol tried dragging her mother away. Kiara ran straight at the thing with a kitchen knife, screaming like a demon. She stabbed it in the eye. It didn't die, but it screamed. The first time we ever heard one of them make a sound that wasn't calculated. She was vaporized seconds later. Her mother too. But the news spread fast. The Varnak could feel pain. They could bleed. They weren't gods. From that day on, everything changed. We were no longer the scattered leftovers of a primitive species. We were humans, angry, grieving, and dangerous. I joined a group in the Andes, survivors, engineers, ex-soldiers, scientists, hell, even hackers and kids who'd never held a weapon before. We called ourselves Ashblood. A stupid name, probably. But when your cities are ash and your blood won't stop boiling, it fits. We scavenged Varnak tech, repurposed it, studied it. Turns out their arrogance worked in our favor. They never thought we'd be smart enough to reverse engineer anything. But we did. It took us 4 years. 4 years of hiding, fighting, failing, losing, learning. Then one day, we cracked it. A short-range energy disruptor that could shut down their shields for 12 seconds. 12. That's all we needed, because in those 12 seconds, a human could pull a trigger. We tested the disruptor in a valley far from any city, where satellites couldn't see us and the air was thick with mist and frost. There were 7 of us that day. We'd found a Varnak patrol drone, the kind that scans human populations for signs of rebellion, the kind that vaporizes anyone holding anything sharper than a kitchen knife. Raoul, our tech head, was shaking when he flipped the switch. The disruptor let out a high-pitched whine, barely audible to the human ear. The drone stopped mid-air. No humming. No red light. Just silence, and a brief flicker of something that looked like fear in the way it hovered. That was second 1. By second 2, Danny had her makeshift launcher locked in. Seconds 3 and 4 passed as she muttered a prayer, not to God, but to Kiara, the girl who made the first cut. On second 5, she fired. Seconds 6 to 11 were full of fire and metal and screaming. By second 12, the drone hit the ground, smoking. Not disintegrated, not atomized, it fell. A Varnak machine, toppled by scavenged human junk and a little stubborn rage. We dragged the wreck into the cave and tore it apart. The shell was nearly useless, burned and twisted, but the processor was intact. That was the prize. You see, the Varnak never thought we'd touch their code. But our hackers, They didn't care if they had one eye, a melted laptop, and a power supply from a dead microwave. They lived for this. By the end of that week, we had more than just a disruptor. We had a blueprint. Not just of their machines, but their strategy. Their movements. Their blind spots. The Varnak operated like a hive. Each sector of Earth was divided into domes. Massive control centers, where leaders coordinated every move across continents. If you took out one dome, the whole region went dark for hours, maybe days. Enough time to rise, so we made a choice. We'd burn one, not just attack it. Not just infiltrate it, burn it. Let them see smoke from orbit. Let them hear our primitive screams through their precious comms. Let them know we had teeth. The dome we chose was in Lagos, Nigeria. Why Lagos? Because no one was watching Africa anymore. The Varnak had classified it as stabilized, meaning most of the continent was already processed or dead. But Lagos? That city never went down easy. Rumors said thousands still lived in tunnels beneath it. Others said something worse, that the Varnak were experimenting on them. We didn't care. We were going. I remember standing in the back of a stolen skimmer, one of their anti-grav transports camouflaged with the stolen code we'd cracked. We were flying low over the jungle, my heart thudding in my ears. 30 of us packed in tight. Veterans, teenagers, one former nurse and 2 lunatics who used to be demolition experts before the sky fell. No uniforms, no medals, just patched armor and human anger. We reached Lagos by nightfall. The dome was bigger than I imagined, half buried in the earth like a parasite, pulsing with that sickly green light they loved so much. Varnak guards stalked the outer perimeters. Inside was said to be a nerve center, a command hub for 3 continents. We had one disruptor and enough explosives to rip a mountain open. Raoul stayed behind with the jammer, muttering to himself, fingers twitching on the console. Danny led the infiltration team. I carried the detonator. They called us primitive. But they never considered how primitive things, and when cornered, bite the hardest. We moved fast, quiet. The shield flickered just long enough for us to slip in. The inside was wrong. Varnak design always felt alive. Pulsing walls, breathing vents. Like you were walking through the inside of some giant sleeping insect. Then we saw the cells, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, filled with people, barely clothed, starved, blank-eyed. Some whispered, some didn't move at all. And in the middle of it all, something worse, children, hooked into machines, wires threaded into their arms. One looked up at me, and I swear his eyes glowed blue like the Varnak. They weren't just experimenting, they were trying to turn humans into them. The room stank of metal and rot. The machines hummed low, steady, like they were breathing. I couldn't stop staring at that kid. Couldn't even guess his age. 10, 11, skin pale, body thin, but his eyes glowed like cold embers. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just looked at me like he already knew what came next. Danny swore under her breath and raised her rifle. "We take the kids and blow the rest," she whispered. "No," I said, my voice dry in my throat. "We take everyone." She gave me a look like I was insane. Maybe I was. But those people, those broken souls in those cages, they weren't just prisoners. They were a message. The Varnak kept them alive not because they needed them, but because they wanted us to see this. To know that they owned us completely. Saving them wouldn't win the war, but it would remind us who we were. We spread out, breaking open the cages with bolt cutters and makeshift override tools. Some of the prisoners screamed when we touched them. Others just stared, too broken to understand what freedom looked like anymore. A few cried, and real human tears that hit harder than any gunshot. "Up! Get up, we're getting out!" someone shouted. The kids were the hardest. Wires fused to bone. One of our medics, Elia, cut them free with trembling hands. The boy with the glowing eyes didn't flinch as the cables came out. He just stood and walked beside me, barefoot and silent. The alarms triggered too fast. We knew we had 12 seconds when Raoul hit the jammer again, a precious 12 seconds to make it out before their weapons came back online. We carried whoever couldn't walk. The walls throbbed red, pulsing like a heartbeat. And the guards, the Varnak, started to pour in 7 feet tall. Clawed arms, armor that bent light. I shot first, Danny next. Then all hell broke loose. Bullets didn't work, we knew that, but the ones with disruptor rounds did. Varnak fell shrieking, blue blood splashing against the walls. Still, they outnumbered us 10 to 1. They weren't just soldiers. They were enraged, humiliated. We'd broken into their core. We'd touched what wasn't meant to be touched. Our exit collapsed fast. The path back to the tunnel was already sealed off by Varnak infantry. Raoul screamed through the comms, "They're jamming me back!" I've got maybe 20 seconds of cover left. I looked at Danny. She looked at me. We didn't have 20 seconds, so we changed the plan. "You remember the ventilation shaft we passed?" She nodded, eyes grim. "That leads to the generator. Blow it, we'll go up." "You sure about this?" "Not even a little." We split. Danny and 3 others hauled explosives toward the generator. The rest of us moved up, prisoners in tow, shooting and dragging and bleeding. The Varnak followed. My shoulder was already numb from a glancing plasma shot. One of the medics went down. Another prisoner grabbed his rifle before I could blink. We reached the shaft, a vertical climb with barely any grip. We started hauling people up. The kid with the glowing eyes climbed first, effortless, inhumanly fast. I didn't have time to think about it. Below us, the Varnak screamed in their guttural tongue. I turned just in time to see one leap forward, faster than I expected. Claws wide, and then, boom, the explosion hit like a fist from the gods. The walls cracked. Light shattered. Fire rolled through the corridors like water. The entire dome shook, and then it started to collapse. Steel and alien bone twisted. The Varnak screamed again, this time not in fury, but in fear. We climbed. We climbed like devils were behind us, because they were. We emerged to the surface as dawn cracked the sky. The dome was burning, not flickering, not smoking, burning. A tower of flame licking the clouds. Black smoke rising like a middle finger, aimed right at their orbiting fleets. The people we rescued collapsed in the dirt. Coughing, weeping, trying to remember what real air tasted like. I looked up, and I knew they were watching. The Varnak. From their high ships. Their gods, their rulers, watching their so-called primitives burn a symbol of their power to the ground. They came the next day, not scouts, not patrols, a fleet. Dozens of black ships tearing through the clouds, slow and deliberate, like they wanted us to see them coming. They didn't hide anymore. They weren't hunting rats in tunnels or dragging out stragglers. This was a message. You touched our sacred ground. You will be wiped out. The skies above Lagos turned black. The fire from the dome still burned in the distance, and the air smelled like melted metal and smoke. We didn't run. There was nowhere left to run. I gathered what was left of our team. 30 had gone in, 17 came out. Some were wounded. One was dying. The boy with the glowing eyes hadn't spoken a single word, but he stayed close to me, always watching. Raoul's voice buzzed over the comms. "They're deploying a purge ship." I froze. Everyone did. Purge ships weren't just weapons. They were genocide machines. The Varnak only sent them to clean out entire species when they were done pretending to be civilized. "You're sure?" Danny asked, her voice like gravel. Raoul didn't answer at first. Then, "It's above us now." We looked up. And there it was, in a ship so massive it blotted out the sun. Long, curved like a crescent blade. Its underbelly opened slowly, revealing dozens of glowing pods, not bombs, harvesters. They weren't going to just kill us. They were going to harvest us. Take our bodies, our minds, our blood. Turn us into fuel, data, weapons. Maybe worse. This wasn't war anymore, it was erasure. "We have to leave," someone shouted. "And go where?" Danny snapped. "There's no safe zone." "This is the safe zone." Laya, the medic, stumbled forward, blood soaking his shirt. "Then we make this the last stand." I wanted to believe we had a choice, but we didn't. We had about 12 minutes until the harvesters dropped. That was it. 12 minutes to prepare, to move, to fight, or to die. I pulled out the last disruptor core we had, barely functioning, cracked, overheating. I looked at Raoul through the comms. "Can you overcharge it?" He hesitated. "If I do, it'll fry everything within a few clicks, including us." "Can it take down the ship?" "If you get it underneath it, maybe, but that's suicide." I looked at the glowing boy, still silent, still staring. He tilted his head, and then finally, he spoke. "I can take it there." Everyone went quiet. The kid's voice didn't sound like a kid. It echoed, layered, like multiple versions of him were speaking at once. Human, but not quite. "What are you?" I asked quietly. "I was made in their walls," he said. "But I belong to you. Are you one of them?" He shook his head. "No, I'm what they fear. A mistake, a mind they couldn't shape. The others backed away, unsure. I didn't have the luxury of fear anymore. He stepped forward, took the core from my hand. His fingers glowed when they touched it. This will detonate if I touch the ship directly. You'll die, I said. He smiled, the first human smile I'd seen on his face. Then let them see what their mistake looks like. Before anyone could stop him, he sprinted, faster than any human. Almost a blur up the rubble, onto a fallen transport, leapt 30 feet into the air. And then he was gone, flying somehow, pulled by some force I couldn't explain. The Varnak didn't shoot. They hesitated. They saw him coming, Kandi, and they backed away. The purge ship began to react, its underbelly starting to close. The harvesters pulling back in, too late. The boy slammed the core directly into its center. A pulse of white light tore through the sky. Then silence. Then shockwave. The air cracked. The clouds turned red. The ship above us didn't just explode, it caved in on itself, imploding with a sound like a screaming star. The fire reached the heavens. Debris fell like meteors. The Varnak screamed in every direction. Retreat signals, panic, disarray. We had done the unthinkable. A human, not born, but built, had taken down one of their gods. The sky didn't clear for hours. Chunks of the purge ship rained down across the city, some still burning, others no bigger than a man's fist. One massive piece, that of the ship's command eye, landed in the ruins of an old shopping mall. It carved a crater 20 feet deep and steamed for a full day. But that wasn't what shook us the most. It was the silence. No retaliatory strike. No broadcast. No message from the Varnak at all. Nothing. Like they didn't know what to say, like they were afraid. We spent the next few days regrouping. Raoul rigged together new jammers from the busted wreckage. Danny coordinated small raids to rescue survivors from nearby zones. We picked up a few other rebel cells too. Word of the dome's destruction had spread fast, and so had the tale of the glowing boy who flew. They called him Ashlight. Some said he wasn't real, a ghost, a symbol, a story made to inspire fear in the Varnak. I let them believe what they wanted. The truth? He was real and the Varnak knew it. 2 weeks passed. Just long enough for people to start thinking we'd won something. Then the sky lit up again. But this time it wasn't a fleet. It was a single ship. Colossal, unlike any we'd seen before. It hovered above Earth like it was part of the planet itself. Blacker than space, carved with glowing veins that pulsed like a heartbeat. Raoul saw it first and nearly dropped his tools. That's not just another purge ship, he said. That's their capital. I thought he was joking. Why would they bring their capital here? He looked at me. No smile. They're not here to rule anymore. They're here to end us. The ship didn't fire. It spoke, not through screens, not through hacked signals, straight into our minds, a voice so cold it made your bones ache. You were warned. You were judged. You rebelled. You spilled sacred blood. Now you will be unmade. People fell to their knees. Some screamed. A few bled from their noses. I bit the inside of my cheek, hard enough to draw blood just to stay grounded. That voice, it wasn't just sound, it pushed. It bent reality around it, like it was rewriting our thoughts. They're trying to break us before they even strike, Danny whispered. But they made one mistake, I said. What? They reminded us they can bleed. That night we held a council in the ruins of an old subway station. Leaders from resistance cells all over joined us. From Nairobi, Istanbul, Sao Paulo, broken pieces of what used to be the United States. Some came in person, others through shaky holograms powered by scavenged cores. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. What now? We had proof the Varnak weren't invincible. But this ship wasn't just a threat. It was a statement. They'd come to erase Earth, city by city, bone by bone, until nothing remained but a memory. We had one shot left. A suicide plan. Raoul laid it out on the table, trembling as he spoke. If we can get a payload into their capital ship's core, we can force a chain reaction. What kind of payload? Someone asked. He hesitated. A nuclear one. Silence. No one's fired a nuke since the invasion, Danny muttered. Because we were scared it wouldn't work, I added. But now? We know their shields can drop. We know their tech isn't magic. Raoul nodded. It's risky. Their core is buried deep. We'd have to sneak in through the underside. And someone will have to manually detonate the core from the inside. Another suicide run? Danny whispered. No one said a word. Then I stepped forward. I'll do it. She looked at me like I'd just stabbed her. No, I have to. You don't owe them. I owe everyone. I looked around the room at the tired faces of men and women who'd lost everything, children who'd grown up underground, fighters who'd buried entire families just to keep breathing. They called us primitive, I said, voice steady. Let's show them what primitive looks like when it decides to burn your capital instead. 3 days. That's how long we had to prepare the nuke, retrofit an old Varnak shuttle, and gather the team that would ride it straight into the belly of the beast. 3 days to stare death in the face, knowing we were going to punch it anyway. The shuttle was a wrecked patrol skimmer we'd pulled from the ruins outside Lagos. Raoul and the tech crew patched it with a Frankenstein mess of Varnak parts and human wiring, then coded in a stealth sequence using broken fragments of the dome's network. Will it work? I asked, watching sparks fly from the undercarriage. Raoul shrugged. If it doesn't, you'll explode in the upper atmosphere. Comforting. Inside the hull, they welded the warhead, an old Cold War relic we'd found buried in a forgotten US military bunker. It wasn't pretty. It was scarred, patched, leaking radiation like a dying star. But it would do the job if we could get it inside. Danny was furious with me. Wouldn't even look at me for a full day. When she finally spoke, it was through clenched teeth and glassy eyes. You think dying for this makes you a hero? No, I said. I just want it to end. I could go. You know that, I nodded. You could, but I'm already gone, Danny. I've been gone since Santiago. I'm just borrowing time. She didn't argue after that. The rest of the team knew what this meant. It wasn't a mission. It was a funeral we'd chosen to walk into. 5 of us would go, me, Raoul, because no one else could run the systems, Elia the medic, in case someone lived long enough to need him, a mute fighter named Suri, who'd once taken down a Varnak beast barehanded, and the boy, Ashlight. We didn't even ask. He just appeared at the launch site the night before, standing in the shadows, still barefoot, still glowing faintly. When I asked why he was here, he only said, they'll never expect the same mistake twice. We launched at midnight. The shuttle rattled like it would break apart before leaving the atmosphere. Every second felt like it was stitched together with rust and prayer. But we broke through the clouds, and there it was, the Varnak capital ship. It loomed above the earth like a second moon, impossibly vast, covered in glowing veins and jagged towers. The closer we got, the more wrong it looked. Like it wasn't built so much as grown. The stealth codes held. We slipped through the outer perimeter without a single pulse from their scanners. Inside, the corridors of the ship pulsed with life. There were no doors, just openings that opened when the ship wanted them to. It breathed, it pulsed. It watched. Suri took point, silent as ever. She carried no gun, just 2 jagged Varnak blades she'd taken from a commander she killed last year. Elia stuck close to Ashlight, who didn't blink once as we moved deeper into the heart of enemy territory. We passed rooms filled with preserved bodies, not just humans. Dozens of other species floating in liquid, suspended like trophies. The Varnak didn't conquer. They collected. That was the final confirmation. We weren't at war with gods. We were inside a museum run by monsters. Raoul hacked the internal systems, overriding the ship's central core access. We're close, he muttered. But once I break the final layer, the whole place will light up. How long will we have? I asked. He stared at the screen. Maybe 5 minutes. No more. I looked at Ashlight. He nodded. We reached the core chamber minutes later, and what we saw stopped us cold. It wasn't just a reactor. It was a being. A massive pulsing creature wired into the walls. Eyes sealed shut. Heartbeat echoing through the floors. The true brain of the ship. This thing is alive, Elia whispered. Raoul's hands shook as he opened the panel. Then we're going to kill it. I armed the nuke. No turning back now. Ashlight stepped forward, eyes brighter than ever. I'll take it in. No, I said. You've already done enough. He turned to me and his voice was older, deeper. You still think I'm a child. I'm not. I am their sin. And I was made to destroy them. He took the warhead like it was weightless. The ship shuddered. It felt him. Go, I said, throat dry. Do it fast. We ran, Ashlight walked, and behind us the ship howled. Lights flared. Sirens blared in tones we couldn't even hear. Varnak drones poured out of the walls, but Suri and Elia kept them at bay. One drone took Elia in the leg. Another sliced into my arm. Raoul was bleeding from the head, screaming code into a failing console as he hacked a blast door open. We dove through. Seconds left. Ashlight turned once before the door closed, eyes burning white now, skin cracking like a shell. "I was made in darkness," he said. "Let them see what light really is." The door sealed, and then the world exploded. I don't remember the blast, just the moment right before, that sharp intake of breath when the door sealed behind Ashlight, and I knew he wouldn't come back. His final words echoed in my skull louder than the sirens and alarms. Let them see what light really is. After that, just white, not light. Not fire, not heat, just nothing. I woke up under rubble. My ears were ringing. My lungs burned. For a moment, I thought I was blind. Then I realized the sky above me was just gone, replaced by smoke and falling ash, swirling above like a black snowstorm. Someone was dragging me. I turned my head and saw Raoul, bloody, barely standing, hauling me through cracked metal and flaming debris. Half his face was covered in soot and blood. His eyes, those didn't belong to someone who expected to survive. "Elia?" I croaked. Raoul shook his head. "Suri?" His silence said everything. We'd made it out before the full detonation. Barely. The blast had torn the Varnak capital ship open from the inside, collapsing it like a dying lung. It didn't just fall. It imploded, sucked into itself as if the universe rejected its existence. What remained was falling through Earth's atmosphere in 1,000 burning chunks, raining across oceans, deserts, mountains. Every sensor on the planet picked it up. Every resistance cell knew what it meant. Humanity had burned their god alive. We were supposed to die in the process, but somehow we didn't. Over the next few days, we were found and dug out by survivors, patched up in underground hospitals, carried across the ruins by people who still believed in something more than running. The fall of the capital ship shattered Varnak. Unity. Their command structure relied on that one entity, the living mind we saw wired into the heart of the vessel. When Ashlight destroyed it, their entire system fractured. Ships abandoned Earth orbit. Ground patrols went rogue. Entire regions were left without orders. Some Varnak units even fled. Others turned savage, feral, without leadership. We hunted those down like the beasts they became. Danny found me in what used to be northern Mali, holed up in a bunker turned field base. I thought I was hallucinating when she walked in, mud-covered, limping, scarred, but alive. "You were supposed to be Ash," she said. "You're late," I replied. She punched me in the chest. Not hard, just enough. We sat together, staring at the sky through the broken roof. There were stars again. No ships, no green glows, no Varnak fleets, just stars. "Did he make it?" she asked. "Ashlight?" I paused. "He didn't come out. But I don't think he died either." "What makes you say that?" I pointed to the sky. Up there in the middle of the falling dark was a burning trail, not falling like debris, moving, rising. No one had an explanation for it. The scientists said it was some atmospheric anomaly. The religious called it a sign. The rebels just whispered his name, but I knew he was still out there. Maybe not as a boy anymore. Maybe not as a weapon, but as a memory the Varnak would never be able to erase. We didn't celebrate. Too many dead. Too much gone, but we rebuilt. The resistance turned into governance. Tunnels became towns. Survivors became leaders. The world didn't go back to normal, it evolved. Primitive. Maybe, but our fire had swallowed their gods, and in the smoke that followed we learned something the Varnak never understood. You can conquer a planet, but you can never conquer the human spirit. A year passed. One full cycle since the fall of the Varnak capital ship, since Ashlight walked into fire and rewrote the end of our story. Earth didn't heal overnight. Hell, it didn't heal at all, not in the way people expect when wars end. The scars stayed. Craters still marked where cities used to stand. Forests regrew through wrecked steel and alien bones. Skulls of Varnak warriors were mounted on pikes in rebel camps, not out of hatred but as a promise. Never again. We had no central government, not yet. But we had unity, something we never really had before the invasion. The old flags didn't matter. Race, border, belief, all of that melted when the skies fell. What rose from the ashes wasn't a perfect world, it was a human one. I lived on the outskirts of what used to be Cairo. The desert had reclaimed most of it, but people had returned. We built with what we had, broken stone, scavenged plastic, repurposed alien alloy. Children ran barefoot over cracked streets that once echoed with screams. Now they laughed, played, shouted about monsters and heroes. Some of them wore glowing necklaces, shaped like the same eye we'd seen on Ashlight's chest. He'd become legend. No body was ever found. No ashes, no trace of him at all, but they saw him. People claimed it every month. Pilots, scouts, astronomers, a streak of white light arcing across the sky. Always silent, always fast, never hostile. They said it was him watching us, making sure they never came back. As for the Varnak, we never heard from them again. Not one ship returned, not one signal. They vanished, not beaten by our strength, but by their own arrogance. They'd called us primitive, and that's why they lost. Because while they had order, we had rage. While they had gods, we had Ashlight. While they saw us as broken, we became unbreakable. Some of us worried. The scientists mostly. If the Varnak were part of something larger, they said, this wasn't the end. It was just the first chapter. I understood that fear. The galaxy is wide. We used to think we were alone. Then they came and shattered that illusion. Who's to say they weren't the scouts of something worse? But here's the thing. We're not who we were anymore. We've salvaged their tech. We've reverse-engineered their weapons. We've rebuilt satellites, ships, comms. Earth is no longer just a planet trying to survive. It's a planet preparing to launch. Some want peace. Others want revenge. But all of us, every human left breathing, agrees on one thing. If anything out there thinks they can do what the Varnak did, they're wrong. Because now we know what we are. We're the species that bleeds and screams and breaks, but never bows. So go ahead. Watch us. Call us primitive, call us unstable, but don't make the mistake of stepping on this soil again, because the next fire won't stop at your capital. It will burn across your stars. And we'll be the ones lighting the match,